Good afternoon, everybody. I am Jeff Stein, the president of Plan Giving Marketing, and this is our first and hopefully a series of several, if not too many, PGM PSAs. PSA, practical service announcement, or maybe with a little bit more humor, a professional sanity advice. With most of us, if not all of us, working from home these days, we have had the opportunity to talk to a lot of our clients, and there have been a lot of questions about the best ways to communicate with donors with the absence of face-to-face meetings and the things that most fundraisers do to stay busy during the day. So I figured I'd call a friend and a colleague who has 20 years of experience in direct fundraising and find out from him exactly what he's doing to fill his days and offer that advice to fellow fundraisers. So without further ado, here's my friend and colleague, Greg Wilson. Greg is the Senior Major Gifts and Plan Giving Officer at Good Shepherd Rehabilitation in Allentown, Pennsylvania. Welcome, Greg.
Thank you very much, Jeff. It's great to be on here with you today.
Well, it's great to have you. So over the past couple of weeks, you and I have been doing a lot of talking about ways that we can deliver your practical advice to fundraisers. And lo and behold, we got thrown a pandemic, which is giving us even more need and more urgency for some pretty good practical advice. And then when I called you the other day to talk specifically about what you as a fundraiser are doing to communicate with donors, you gave me some pretty practical advice. Why don't you tell me and the folks watching what you told me you were doing?
Sure. Yeah, it's a little bit of a joke. So to set the scene, Good Shepherd Rehabilitation, with who I work for now, we have a very robust thank you calling program. It's a piece that each gift officer for the network does, and we try to do it daily, where we just call people within certain parameters who have made a gift within the last day or so, and just calling them, thanking them, and really trying to learn a little bit more about them and their connection to Good Shepherd. But where we're at now, because again, we have a little bit more time on our hand, we're not going out and meeting with individual donors face to face, is what I jokingly refer to as just drunk dialing donors right now. It's a lot of trying to reach as many people as we can with the plan and the expectation to just say thank you to them. So I don't remember if I mentioned this specifically to you, but my goal each day is I start the morning with a full phone battery, and my goal is to just wear it out by the end of the day. So it's not based on how many calls I make or how long each call is, but just start with the same amount each morning and try to use it all up by the end of the day. And so far it's worked out. I've only used up about 48% of a cell phone battery so far. Just again, with everything else, as a lot of us in the Northeast are trying to figure out where different things are happening, when different things might be happening. So I'm not able to spend my entire day on the phone with reaching out to donors. But so far that's been my goal, is to end up with my phone shutting down right after the last call.
That's awesome. I completely get starting the day with a full battery and trying to wear it out on phone calls during the day. But you said something about drunk dialing. Do you start the day with a full cocktail? And like, I don't imagine that you're actually drunk dialing, but I know that my college-age daughters know what that means, but maybe for some of the other people watching, what do you mean by drunk dialing? Like, what does that look like?
Sure. It's calling people, which I know, again, is not the most professional term to use for it, but it's reaching out to people that wouldn't normally be on any sort of calling list. So typically there's thresholds as to why we make thank you calls throughout the week as far as what people have given. But at this point, we're literally calling anybody who has made a gift to Good Shepherd. So if they've made a gift even as small as $10 or $5 or $1, we just are dividing up our incoming receipts literally just by alphabetical order. If there's 9 9 gifts that came in the day before, there's 3 of us that are making these calls, then we each get an additional 3 calls to make. Or if there's 27 calls, we each get an additional 9. And again, we're reaching out to people that wouldn't normally ever hit our radar as far as what their giving history or their tenure of giving would indicate that we should call, but we're taking it as a good opportunity to reach out. And even after we work our way through our regular donor pool of just reaching out to some of them, we've even talked about looking at 2018 SIBUNs, so people whose last gift was in calendar year 2018. And again, just reaching out to them and trying to connect and just say hi and thanks for everything that they've done for us in the past.
You kind of took the next question. I understand you're calling people that you typically wouldn't call because they don't get on a major gift or plan giving officer's radar. But now that you're talking to these people that you don't have perhaps a script for or a pattern for, what are you talking about? How are those conversations going?
Well, they're interesting, and I know that that's a word that gets used an awful lot right now, but it's been very strange with some of them. Is you can hear them within the phone call just waiting for the sort of the quote real reason that we're calling them, and it's been a lot of fun. Most of these conversations end up happening in 2 parts. So the first part is the traditional just calling to say thank you very much for your recent gift. We really appreciate everything that you're doing for us, and this is what your gift provides for at our organization. And then there's this long awkward pause, and you can just hear and feel the person waiting for you to make an ask right there. And usually it's at that point I'm like, oh, well, that's it. I hope you're staying safe. I hope you're staying inside. And then they'll start talking at that point and go, oh, so yeah, I did make that gift to you guys. You're just calling to say thanks? Yeah, I'm just calling to say thanks right now. And at that point, the conversation makes that curve, and you can actually start to then ask them questions about, oh, well, how did you first learn about Good Shepherd? How what made you decide to start supporting us? Or, what's your historical background with Good Shepherd for us in particular? And that's been fun, but it's been a very distinctive 2-part conversation with everybody that we've been reaching out to. That's been new, or at least in my experience, that we've been reaching out to. That's been new. They've just not something that's in a typical wheelhouse, I guess, that they're used to hearing just a random thank you call. So it's been fun. I've gotten some interesting stories about how people have moved out of the area, but they might have grown up nearby, or they have a historical connection, or in some cases we're a Lutheran-based organization, so their only connection is through the Lutheran Church. It's just been very interesting in a very short amount of time to get a deep connection with these individuals, with these donors, and to start to begin to understand and to learn about their why of why they've been supporting us, or what made them first respond to a direct mail piece or some other marketing piece to us.
That's fantastic. I was speaking to an estate attorney earlier this week in regard to their take on the timing of all this, and is it a good time to talk about estate planning or estate gifts, or is it a bad time? And the answer I got was pretty interesting. And he's like, it's a terrible time to be talking about this, except for the people who are thinking about it. It's only been a week or so, and I know that you're trying hard not to do the ask, but have you veered into any plan giving conversations? Have anybody revealed anything that maybe they wouldn't have revealed under different circumstances? I'm just kind of curious as to whether those conversations are still going on.
Yeah, I haven't heard any of those conversations, or I haven't had any of those conversations myself, and I haven't heard from my colleagues. But I've just been surprised at how open some of those earlier conversations have gone. There's initial conversations, and I think that as long as we can track the people that we spoke to during this time frame, I think that it'll be much easier to have that conversation in the future. And that's, again, some of what we've been thinking through is, it's sometimes a little morbid, but this might be the prompt that some people need to really articulate their estate plans, or to finally take the time to designate a beneficiary from a retirement plan or whatever. And it's that whole, if we can do something that stays out in front of them and lets them know that we appreciate and love them as much as they love our organization, that hopefully we're keeping the door open, that we're a little bit higher on their list when they start thinking about making those future plans.
Excellent. So we want to keep these sessions pretty quick because we know that everyone's got to get back to making those dials. Any advice or suggestions for fellow fundraisers out there who might be struggling to pick up the phone, or when they do get on the phone struggling with what to say? Is there a script or a prompt or a trigger that you use to get over the hump?
Yeah, I mean, the biggest thing that I just remember, and a lot of times the phone calls even end just with this, is to just say thank you. Again, it's you can hear a little bit of shock and wonder in people's voices when they answer and when they start talking to you. But if the call ends right after that, in my opinion, that's still a good call. You've still said thank you. You've shared with them how much their support means to the organization. And again, if the call ends there, then that's fine. That's still a win in my opinion. And that's easy. That's kind of a no barrier to entry process there. And if the conversation's able to continue on, then always just hope that they're doing well. And then really at that point, if the opportunity presents itself and if the conversation's continuing to go, I think this is a great time to ask people how they became connected with your organization. Why did they make that first gift to you, or what have they been hearing lately in some of the other communications, whether it's your newsletter or marketing pieces, that they have any questions, and proactively toss it out there to ask them if they have any questions, if they've seen anything that they're interested in, or to even just, again, leave your name and telephone number, and they have the memory of your voice of somebody who just reached out to say, hey, how are you doing? And thanks for everything that you've done.
That's pretty powerful stuff. I mean, particularly because I think you're having the opportunity to talk to people who never heard from you directly before. It's an opportunity to start building relationships with some people who, like we said at the top of the call, were never on a major gift or plan giving officer's radar.
Yeah.
Greg, this has been really, really helpful. I really appreciate your optimism and above all, your practical plan giving and fundraising advice. I hope the people tuning in or watching this recorded got some inspiration from you and are encouraged to pick up the phone and soberly drunk dial and maybe take your advice of, maybe the advice would be don't start with 100% charge on your phone, start with a 50% charge on your phone and see if you can blow through the 50% charge, but doing nothing but dialing. And again, to clarify, the phone is only for dialing. It's not for web browsing, checking email, playing Words with Friends or any of that. Is that right?
Nope. Just pure outbound phone calls.
Good deal. Good deal. Well, again, Greg, thanks for joining us today. I hope that you will join us again. And for everybody else out there who is listening, if you like what you see, I think there's going to be a phone number or an email address or a web address at the bottom for you to check in with us. If there are other topics that you would like to hear covered, if you would like to join us and participate on your own, we'd love to have you. As Greg pointed out, we now have a lot more time on our hands than we have had before. We're not traveling. We're not sitting in meetings. We're working in solitude. And if you want to join us and have any questions or share ideas or just communicate with other fundraisers in the field, we'd love to have you. So again, Jeff Stein, Greg Wilson, Plan Giving Marketing, thanks so much for joining us and have a great day.